My mother created a fake obituary for me. My boss sent flowers. I was 3 bites into my Tuesday morning bagel when my boss knocked on my apartment door holding a bouquet of white lilies and crying. "Sarah, I am so sorry for your loss," Janet sobbed, thrusting the flowers at me. When I saw the obituary this morning, I just couldn't believe it. Your poor mother must be devastated. I stood there in my pajamas, cream cheese still on my lip, staring at my very much alive reflection in Janet's tear-streaked glasses. "I'm sorry, what obituary?" Janet's face went through several expressions at once: confusion, horror, and what I can only describe as the look someone gets when they realize they've walked into the wrong funeral. The obituary. For you. Sarah Elizabeth Chin, age 28, died tragically in a car accident on Route 95 Sunday night. My bagel hit the floor. I grabbed Janet's phone with shaking hands and stared at my own obituary on the Riverside Memorial Home website. There was my high school graduation photo, the one where Mom made me retake it 4 times because my smile wasn't grateful enough. The one I specifically remembered her downloading from Facebook last year before I blocked her. Asterisk Sarah Elizabeth Chin, beloved daughter, passed away unexpectedly on November 12, 2023, following a tragic automobile accident. Sarah was a bright light who touched everyone she met with her kindness and determination. She will be deeply missed by her devoted mother, Linda Chin, and extended family. In lieu of flowers, donations may be made to the American Heart Association. Services will be held at Riverside Memorial Home on Thursday, November 16th, at 2 p.m. Janet, I said slowly, I need to call in sick today. After I convinced my boss that I was indeed not dead, which took a surprisingly long time and involved me reciting my social security number and the name of her cat, I sat on my couch and stared at my phone. 17 missed calls from my Aunt Margaret. 12 text messages from college friends I hadn't spoken to in years. My ex-boyfriend from 2019 had somehow gotten my number and left a voicemail that started with, "I know we didn't end on good terms, but..." It had been exactly 1 year, 2 months, and 16 days since I'd spoken to my mother. The last conversation ended with her screaming that I was an ungrateful, selfish brat who would come crawling back when I realized how good I had it. I'd hung up, blocked her number, and started therapy the next week. Apparently, Linda Chen had decided to escalate. My phone rang. "Aunt Margaret." "Oh honey," she wailed before I could even say hello. "I'm driving up from Philadelphia right now. Your mother is beside herself. She can barely speak, she's so distraught. The funeral home said you looked peaceful, but I just need to." "Aunt Margaret, I'm alive." Silence. "I'm alive, and I'm sitting in my apartment, and Mom posted a fake obituary because I haven't talked to her in over a year." The silence stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. Then, that absolute psychotic bitch. I almost smiled. Almost. But then I scrolled through the comments on the obituary, 43 people expressing sympathy, sharing memories, promising to attend my funeral, and realized that Linda Chen had just declared war using weapons I didn't even know existed. 2 could play this game. I started taking screenshots. Every comment, every share, every tear-jerking emoji reaction to my fictional death. 43 had turned into 67 by noon, and the number kept climbing. My mother's performance in the comments section was particularly spectacular. "Thank you all for your kind words. Sarah was my whole world. I don't know how I'll go on without her. She was driving to see me when it happened. If only I had told her to wait until morning. I'll never forgive myself. The last thing she texted me was, 'I love you, Mom.' At least I have that." I screenshotted that one twice because it made my eye twitch. The last thing I'd actually texted her was, "Stop calling my work," 14 months ago. My phone buzzed with another call. This time it was my cousin Danny from Oregon, someone I hadn't talked to since my college graduation. "Sarah. Please tell me the Facebook posts are wrong. Please tell me you're not actually. I'm not dead, Danny. Mom posted a fake obituary. Jesus Christ. Aunt Linda said she was making funeral arrangements. She asked my mom to wire her $3,000 for the service. Said the insurance wouldn't cover it immediately and she needed help with the down payment." My stomach dropped. She asked for money? Yeah, like an hour ago. Mom was about to send it through Western Union. I closed my eyes and counted to 5. Then 10. It didn't help. "Danny, can you call your mom right now and tell her not to send anything? I'm going to conference you both in." 20 minutes later, I'd convinced my Aunt Patricia that her niece was very much alive and extremely pissed off. She'd also informed me that my mother had called her at 6 a.m. crying hysterically about funeral costs, the burden of planning alone, and how she'd already put down a deposit at Riverside Memorial Home. She said she needed $8,000 total, Patricia said, her voice shaking with what I hoped was anger and not grief. I was getting dressed to drive to the bank when Danny called. $8,000. I looked at my obituary again, noting the convenient detail about donations going to the American Heart Association, my mother's favorite charity, the one she volunteered with for precisely 3 months in 2018 before quitting because they didn't appreciate her organizational insights. I called Riverside Memorial Home directly. "Hi, I'm calling about the Sarah Chin service scheduled for Thursday. I need to confirm some details with whoever's handling the arrangements." "Oh yes, I'm so sorry for your loss. Are you family?" "I'm Sarah Chin." Another pause that was becoming familiar. "I'm sorry, could you repeat that?" "I'm Sarah Chin. The person who's supposedly dead. The person whose funeral you're allegedly planning. I'm calling to inform you that I am very much alive and my mother has committed fraud." The funeral director, a man named Robert who sounded like he'd been chain-smoking since 1987, put me on hold for 6 minutes. When he came back, his tone had shifted from sympathy to barely contained panic. "Ms. Chen, we're going to need to remove that obituary immediately. Your mother did request information about our services and pricing, but she hasn't actually made any arrangements or payments. We posted the obituary based on her request and assumed she would follow up with proper documentation." "What kind of documentation?" "Death certificate, typically. Which we obviously don't have because you're not deceased." I hung up and stared at my phone. 67 comments had become 81. My high school English teacher had shared it to her Facebook page with a paragraph about how I was one of the good ones. My dentist's office had posted condolences on their business page. My mother had turned my life into a grief tourism attraction, and she'd almost scammed my relatives out of $8,000 in the process. I opened a new document on my laptop and started typing. The document I started typing wasn't my usual carefully worded response to my mother's manipulation. This time, I was done being diplomatic. Asterisk to everyone who saw my obituary, I am very much alive. Linda Chen, my mother, posted a fake death notice because I haven't spoken to her in over a year due to her emotional abuse. She has also solicited money from relatives for my funeral expenses. This is who she is, asterisk. But before I could post it, my phone rang again. Unknown number. Sarah. This is Detective Martinez with Riverside Police. We received a call about a possible fraud case involving a fake obituary. My blood pressure spiked. Yes, that's me. I mean, I'm the person who's supposedly dead. Can you come to the station this afternoon? We'd like to get a statement. Posting false death notices and soliciting money based on that information could constitute wire fraud, especially if funds cross state lines. Wire fraud. Federal charges. I looked at my screenshots again, Patricia in Oregon, Margaret driving from Philadelphia, my college roommate in Texas posting about sending flowers. My mother hadn't just manipulated our family, she'd potentially committed a crime across multiple jurisdictions. After I hung up with Detective Martinez, I called my therapist's emergency line. Dr. Kim answered on the second ring. Sarah. What's wrong? My mother faked my death and posted an obituary online. My boss showed up with flowers. People are planning to attend my funeral on Thursday. Dr. Kim was quiet for exactly 3 seconds. Where are you right now? Home. I'm okay, I think. I'm angry, but I'm okay. This is escalation, Sarah. We've talked about how narcissistic parents often increase their manipulation tactics when their children establish boundaries. But this. She paused. This is beyond anything we've discussed. Are you safe? Do you think she might try to contact you directly? I hadn't even considered that possibility. My mother's phone number was blocked, but she knew where I lived. She knew my work schedule. She knew my favorite coffee shop, my gym, the grocery store where I shopped every Sunday morning. I don't know, I admitted. She's never done anything physically dangerous, but I never thought she'd fake my death either. I want you to stay vigilant. Document everything, every message, every call, every person who contacts you about this. And Sarah? You don't owe anyone an explanation about why you went no contact. Not your family, not your friends, not anyone. After we hung up, I checked the obituary again. 112 comments. Someone had created a Facebook memorial page. My high school had posted about it on their alumni page. The local newspaper from my hometown had picked it up and run it in their online edition under Recent Deaths. My phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. Asterisk, Sarah, this is your cousin Mike. Got your number from Danny. Holy shit. Mom just told me what Aunt Linda did. Do you need anything? This is insane. Asterisk. Then another, asterisk, it's Jessica from college. Danny found me on Instagram and told me what happened. I'm so sorry. I already shared the obituary before I knew. How do I fix this? Asterisk. And another, asterisk, Sarah, this is Tom from high school. I saw Danny's post in our class group. I can't believe Aunt Linda would do this. The whole family is talking about it. Grandma Rose is furious. Asterisk. Grandma Rose. I'd forgotten that my 84-year-old grandmother would see this. The woman who still sent me birthday cards with $20 bills tucked inside, who called me every Christmas to tell me she was proud of me, who had quietly supported my decision to distance myself from my mother without ever asking for details. I called her immediately. Grandma Rose? It's Sarah. Oh, sweetheart. Her voice was shaky but relieved. I knew something was wrong when Linda called me sobbing at 7 this morning. She was carrying on about funeral arrangements, but she couldn't give me straight answers about the accident. And you know how she gets when she's lying, her voice gets all high and fluttery. Even my elderly grandmother could see through Linda Chen's performance. I'm so sorry you had to deal with that, I said. Don't you apologize to me, honey. I've been watching your mother pull stunts for 28 years, but this? Grandma Rose's voice hardened. This crosses every line there is. Grandma, did she ask you for money too? The pause told me everything I needed to know. $5,000. Said she needed it for the burial plot because the one she picked out required immediate payment. Grandma Rose's voice cracked. I was at the bank when your cousin Tom called me. I had the cashier's check made out and everything. $5,000 from Grandma Rose. $3,000 from Patricia. How many other relatives had she called? I grabbed a notebook and started making a list. Uncle Robert in Florida, she'd definitely call him. My second cousins in California. Maybe even my father's side of the family, people I barely knew but who would remember me from holiday cards. I need to go, I told Grandma. I love you, and I'm sorry this happened. You find a way to stop her, Sarah. This can't happen again. I hung up and immediately called Detective Martinez back. I have more information. She's contacted multiple family members asking for money. I have at least $8,000 documented so far, but there might be more. We're going to need a list of everyone she contacted and copies of any communications. Can you get your family members to forward you the text messages or voicemail she sent? Before I could answer, someone knocked on my door. Not the gentle knock Janet had used that morning, this was aggressive, demanding. 3 sharp raps, then 3 more. My blood turned to ice water. I crept to the peephole and looked out. A woman I didn't recognize stood in the hallway holding a large floral arrangement. She was maybe 60, wearing a black dress and red-rimmed eyes. Sarah Chen, she called through the door. I'm Barbara Hendricks from the Grief Counseling Center. Your mother asked me to stop by and check on you. I backed away from the door. Grief Counseling Center. My mother had escalated to sending strangers to my apartment. I'm sorry, I called back, but I think there's been a mistake. Your mother is very worried about you, dear. She said you've been having a difficult time processing your own mortality after the accident. She thought it would help to talk to someone. My own mortality. Processing the accident. I grabbed my phone and texted Detective Martinez, * she sent someone to my apartment claiming to be a grief counselor. Says I'm having trouble processing my own mortality after the accident. This is getting worse, *. I don't need counseling, I said through the door. And there wasn't any accident. Barbara's voice changed, becoming sharper. Sarah, your mother paid me for a full session. She's very concerned about your mental state. She said you've been claiming the accident never happened, that you're alive when clearly. Clearly what? I snapped. Clearly I'm standing here talking to you. Trauma can manifest in many ways, sweetheart. Denial is very common. Your mother showed me the hospital reports. Hospital reports. My mother had fabricated hospital reports. I called 911. 911, what's your emergency? There's someone at my door claiming to be a grief counselor, but I think they're part of a scam. My mother posted a fake obituary about me and this person is saying I was in an accident that never happened. Ma'am, are you in immediate danger? I looked through the peephole again. Barbara was still there, now talking on her phone. I caught fragments, more resistant than you said. And, additional sessions might be necessary. I don't know. Maybe. She won't leave and she's talking about hospital reports that don't exist. Officers are on their way. Stay inside and don't open the door. I slumped against the wall and checked my obituary again. 147 comments. Someone had started a GoFundMe page for my funeral expenses that had already raised $436 from strangers. My phone buzzed with another text from Danny, * Sarah, Uncle Robert just called me. He wired Mom $2,000 this morning. Before I could reach him. I'm so sorry, *. 2,000 more. That brought the total to at least $10,000, and I was probably missing people. Barbara knocked again, more insistently. Sarah, I can hear you in there. Your mother is going to be very disappointed if we can't complete this session. Through the thin apartment wall, I heard my elderly neighbor Mr. Peterson's door creak open. Excuse me, he said in his scratchy voice. Is everything all right? Sarah, do you know this woman? Call the police, Mr. Peterson, I shouted. This person is part of a scam. She's having an episode, Barbara told him smoothly. I'm a licensed grief counselor. Her mother hired me to help her process recent trauma. What trauma? Mr. Peterson asked. She was out getting her mail an hour ago looking perfectly fine. Sir, I really can't discuss patient confidentiality issues. Patient? Mr. Peterson's voice rose. Sarah, did you hire this woman? No. I've never seen her before in my life. I heard sirens in the distance, getting closer. The sirens were getting closer when Barbara's voice changed completely. Gone was the concerned grief counselor act, now she sounded like a telemarketer who'd been caught in a lie. Look, Sarah, your mother paid me $300 to come here and talk to you. She said you've been ignoring her calls and she was worried sick. I run a legitimate counseling practice, but I do house calls for family interventions sometimes. Family interventions? I pressed my ear to the door. She told you I was in a car accident. She said you thought you were in a car accident. That you'd been having vivid nightmares about dying and it was affecting your relationship with her. She showed me documentation, medical bills, therapy recommendations. It all looked legitimate. Medical bills. Therapy recommendations. I grabbed my laptop and pulled up my insurance portal, frantically checking for any claims I hadn't authorized. Nothing recent except my actual therapy appointments with Dr. Kim. The sirens stopped right outside my building. Ma'am, we're going to need you to step away from the door, I heard an officer say in the hallway. Officer, there's been a misunderstanding. I'm a licensed professional. Step away from the door, please. I heard Barbara's heels clicking as she moved down the hallway, then a firm knock. Ms. Chin. This is Officer Rodriguez with Riverside PD. Are you safe to open the door? I cracked it open, keeping the chain latch engaged. Officer Rodriguez was young, maybe early 30s, with kind eyes and an expression that suggested this wasn't his weirdest Tuesday. I'm okay, I said. But that woman, my mother sent her. My mother posted a fake obituary about me and now she's sending people to my apartment. We're aware of the situation. Detective Martinez briefed us. Can you open the door so we can get a full statement? I let them in, Officer Rodriguez and his partner, Officer Kim, no relation to my therapist, thankfully. Barbara was nowhere to be seen, but Mr. Peterson had planted himself in the hallway like a 70-year-old security guard. She had fake medical documents, I told them, showing them my phone with the obituary still displayed. She knew details about my life that my mother must have given her. Officer Rodriguez took notes while I explained everything, the obituary, the money requests, the grief counselor ambush. When I mentioned the GoFundMe page, Officer Kim pulled out her phone. Here it is, she said, scrolling. Created by Linda Chin this morning. Help Sarah's family with unexpected funeral costs. It's raised $812 now. $800 from complete strangers, donating to bury someone who was sitting right there in her pajamas explaining fraud to police officers. The absurdity would have been funny if it weren't so terrifying. My phone rang. Danny again. Sarah, don't hang up. Mom just called Grandma Rose back asking for another $3,000. She said the funeral home needed more money up front and she was embarrassed to keep asking family. Another $3,000. I put the phone on speaker so the officers could hear. Danny, how many people has she called? I've been texting everyone I can think of. Uncle Robert, Aunt Patricia, Grandma Rose, my mom, your dad's brother in Seattle. Wait, she called Uncle Jim too. He sent $500 through Venmo this morning. Officer Rodriguez was writing furiously. The numbers kept climbing, 500 here, 2,000 there, 3,000 from someone else. It was like watching my mother's manipulation tactics get audited in real time. Danny, can you ask everyone to forward me screenshots of her messages? The police need documentation. Already on it. Sarah, there's something else. Mom posted in the family Facebook group asking people to share memories of you for a memorial video. She's collected like 30 responses. People are sending photos and stories about you. A memorial video. My mother was crowdsourcing my own eulogy. We need to document everything, Officer Kim said. This is turning into a much bigger case than we initially thought. My phone buzzed with an email notification. The subject line made my hands shake. Riverside Memorial Home, final service arrangements for Sarah Chin. She's still trying to book the funeral, I whispered. Even after they know I'm alive. I opened the email with shaking hands. The funeral director, Robert, had sent a detailed breakdown of services my mother had apparently finalized despite our earlier conversation. Premium casket package, $4, $200. Burial plot at Riverside Cemetery, $2, $800. Memorial service with catering for 75 guests, $3, $500. Floral arrangements, $800. Transportation services, $600. Total, $11, $900. She's trying to actually book it, I said, showing the officers. This email is timestamped 20 minutes ago. Officer Rodriguez was already dialing. Mr. Robert. This is Officer Rodriguez with Riverside PD. We spoke earlier about the Sarah Chin case. Yes, she's sitting right here. Very much alive. He paused, listening. She did what? My stomach dropped. She showed up in person with a death certificate, Officer Rodriguez said after hanging up. 45 minutes ago. Robert said it looked official enough that he started processing the paperwork before he realized he'd spoken to you earlier. A death certificate? My voice came out as a squeak. Where would she even get? Officer Kim held up her phone. There are websites that create novelty death certificates. Gag gifts, movie props, that kind of thing. But if she presented it as real documentation, that's forgery, Officer Rodriguez finished. And if she signed contracts based on fraudulent documents, we're looking at multiple felony charges. I sank onto my couch. My mother hadn't just posted an obituary, she'd created an entire fictional death, complete with forged government documents. This wasn't manipulation anymore. This was systematic fraud. My phone rang again. Unknown local number. Ms. Chin. This is Amanda Walsh from Channel 7 News. We received a tip about an unusual story involving a fake obituary. Would you be available for an interview? The media. Of course. I looked at Officer Rodriguez, who shook his head vigorously. I'm sorry, I can't comment right now, I managed. We understand this is a difficult time. Our source mentioned that your mother may have defrauded multiple family members using your fake death. We'd like to help get your story out there. I hung up and immediately called Detective Martinez. Channel 7 News just called me, I said. Someone tipped them off about the story. That's problematic. Media attention could complicate our investigation. Don't talk to any reporters until we've processed all the evidence. But it was too late. Officer Kim was staring at her phone with wide eyes. It's already online, she said. Someone posted about it in a local Facebook group. It's been shared 43 times in the last 10 minutes. She showed me her screen. Bizarre, local woman fakes daughter's death, scams thousands from family. The post included my obituary photo, my awkward high school graduation smile now attached to a viral story about fraud and family dysfunction. The comments were brutal. Asterisk, what kind of mother does this to her own kid? Asterisk. Asterisk, this is beyond sick. That poor girl. Asterisk. Asterisk, I donated to the GoFundMe this morning. How do I get my money back? Asterisk. Sarah, Officer Rodriguez said gently, we need you to come to the station now. This story is spreading, and we need your official statement before it gets any bigger. As I grabbed my keys and a jacket, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Asterisk, you've made a terrible mistake. This could have stayed private. Now everyone will see what kind of daughter abandons her grieving mother. Asterisk. The number was new, but the manipulation was vintage Linda Chin. Even caught red-handed with forged documents and fraud charges pending, she was still trying to make this my fault. Officers, I said, showing them the text. I think my mother just threatened me. Officer Kim took a photo of the message. Block that number immediately. And Sarah? Document everything from here on out. This case just became a lot more serious. As we left my apartment, Mr. Peterson poked his head out. Sarah, honey, there's been a man in a suit asking questions about you. Said he was from an insurance company, something about processing your life insurance claim. My blood ran cold. What did you tell him? Told him you were alive and kicking and he should mind his own business. But Sarah, how many people is your mother going to send here? I didn't have an answer. Standing in the hallway where I'd lived peacefully for 3 years, surrounded by police officers and concerned neighbors, I realized that my mother had turned my entire life into a crime scene. And we were probably just getting started. At the police station, Detective Martinez looked like a man who'd started his Tuesday expecting shoplifters and ended up with a criminal mastermind. He spread my printed screenshots across his desk like evidence in a murder trial, which, I supposed, they technically were. 15 family members so far, he said, tallying numbers on a legal pad. Confirmed requests totaling $18,700. The GoFundMe is up to $1,200 from strangers. And now we have forged death certificates and fraudulent funeral contracts. Don't forget the insurance investigator, Officer Rodriguez added, pulling up a chair. I called Mutual Life Insurance Company. They received a death claim this morning for a Sarah Elizabeth Chin policy. My throat went dry. I don't have life insurance through them. No, but your mother opened a policy in your name 6 months ago. Small premium, but a $50,000 payout. She's been making payments through autodraft. $50,000. I stared at the detective's notepad, where he'd written the number in red ink and circled it twice. My mother hadn't just faked my death for attention or guilt, she planned this. For 6 months, she'd been preparing to profit from murdering me on paper. That's identity theft, I whispered. Among other things. Detective Martinez pulled out another folder. The funeral director, Robert, gave us copies of everything your mother submitted. The death certificate is decent work, official-looking seal, proper formatting. But the signature is wrong. She forged the coroner's name, and we verified he was in court all day Monday. Couldn't have signed anything. My phone vibrated against the metal table. Text from another unknown number, *, Channel 12 wants to interview you about your mother's fraud scheme. Are you available this afternoon? *. It's spreading, I said, showing Detective Martinez. How many news stations have called you? 4 so far. And Sarah, there's something else. He hesitated, which made my stomach clench. We ran your mother's name through our system. This isn't her first offense involving fraudulent documentation. What do you mean? 3 years ago, she filed a false police report claiming her car was stolen. Turns out she'd hidden it in a storage unit and was trying to collect insurance money. Charges were dropped when she paid restitution, but it's on record. 3 years ago. Right around the time I'd started setting boundaries, limiting our phone calls to once a week instead of daily check-ins. The pattern was becoming clear. Every time I pulled away, Linda Chen escalated her schemes. Detective Martinez's phone rang. He answered it, his expression growing more grim with each and I see. That was the FBI, he said after hanging up. The insurance fraud crossed state lines. Your policy was processed through their Nevada office. They're taking over that part of the investigation. The FBI. My mother's fake obituary had become a federal case. There's more, Martinez continued. Mutual Life flagged the claim because someone else already tried to collect on a Sarah Elizabeth Chen policy last year. Different insurance company, different address, but same name and birth date. The room started spinning. Last year. October 2022. The claim was denied because they couldn't verify the death certificate, but someone definitely tried. We're pulling those records now. October 2022. 2 months after I'd gone no contact. My mother had been practicing killing me for over a year, fine-tuning her approach like some kind of grotesque science experiment. Officer Kim knocked and entered without waiting for a response. We have a problem. Linda Chen just showed up at Riverside Memorial Home again. She's demanding they honor the contract she signed and threatening to sue them for discrimination. Robert called. He's scared she might get violent. Is she there now? Martinez was already reaching for his keys. Yes, and it gets worse. She brought backup, 2 people claiming to be family friends who can verify the death. One of them is the grief counselor who showed up at Sarah's apartment. Barbara. My mother had recruited Barbara into her performance, turning her from an unwitting pawn into an active accomplice. We need to go, Martinez said. Sarah, I need you to come with us for identification purposes, but you'll stay in the car unless we specifically need you. As we drove to the funeral home, my phone exploded with notifications. The local news story had been picked up by bigger outlets. My Twitter mentions were full of strangers expressing sympathy, outrage, and increasingly creative suggestions for what should happen to my mother. *, this woman belongs in prison. *, how is this even legal? Can you just declare someone dead? *, my mom is toxic but this is next level insane. Update, Sarah Chen is alive and her mom is a psycho fraudster #fake obituary #toxic parents. The hashtags made it real in a way that police reports and insurance fraud couldn't. Thousands of people were now discussing my family's dysfunction over their lunch breaks. Detective, I said as we pulled into the funeral home parking lot, what happens if she sees me? Through the large windows, I could see my mother gesturing wildly at a man in a suit, probably Robert. Even from a distance, her body language was pure Linda Chen, dramatic, indignant, and absolutely convinced she was the victim of everyone else's unreasonable behavior. We'll handle it, Martinez said. But his hand was resting on his radio, and I noticed Officer Rodriguez had positioned himself between my mother and the exit. My phone rang. Unknown number again, but this time I recognized the area code, my mother's neighborhood. Sarah Chen. The voice was elderly, shaky. This is Dorothy Brennan. I live next door to your mother. I just wanted to call and tell you how sorry I am for your loss. I closed my eyes. Mrs. Brennan, I'm not dead. My mother made that up. A long pause. Oh my goodness. But she was just at my door an hour ago, sobbing about funeral arrangements. She borrowed my car because hers wouldn't start. She seemed so distraught. She borrowed your car. I looked toward the funeral home, where my mother was now pointing accusingly at Robert. Mrs. Brennan, what kind of car do you drive? A blue Honda Civic. Why, dear? Through the window, I watched my mother storm toward the parking lot, keys in her hand, heading straight for a blue Honda Civic. She's about to steal a car, I told Detective Martinez. He was already calling for backup. The blue Honda Civic peeled out of the funeral home parking lot with my mother behind the wheel and Detective Martinez shouting into his radio. I watched through the windshield as Linda Chen, insurance fraudster, death faker, and now apparent car thief, ran a red light and disappeared around the corner. All units, we have a stolen vehicle, blue Honda Civic, license plate. Martinez rattled off the numbers while I sat in the back seat wondering if there was a support group for people whose mothers had committed multiple felonies in their honor. My phone was ringing again. Mrs. Brennan. Sarah, dear, I just looked out my window and my car is gone. Your mother said she needed to run to the pharmacy for grief medication. Should I be worried? Mrs. Brennan, you should probably call your insurance company. And maybe install a security camera. Officer Rodriguez jogged back from the funeral home, slightly out of breath. Robert says she was ranting about breach of contract and discrimination against grieving mothers. She demanded they provide a casket immediately or she'd report them to the Better Business Bureau for denying services to the recently deceased. The recently deceased being me. That's the weird part. She kept switching between talking about you in past tense and present tense. Like she couldn't decide if you were dead or just temporarily unavailable. My phone buzzed with a text from yet another unknown number. Asterisk, the news vans are at your apartment building. Might want to stay away for a while. Mr. Peterson, asterisk. News vans. I pulled up the local news website and immediately regretted it. The headline read, exclusive, daughter speaks out after mother's elaborate death hoax, with a photo of my apartment building and a reporter standing in the lobby. Detective, I can't go home, I said, showing him the article. They're camping out at my building. We can arrange a hotel for tonight. This investigation is going to take days to sort out, and you shouldn't be alone anyway. Your mother is clearly escalating. The radio crackled to life. Unit 47 to Detective Martinez. We've located the Honda Civic abandoned at Riverside Cemetery. No sign of the suspect. Riverside Cemetery. The same cemetery where she tried to book my burial plot. I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the November air. She's at the cemetery, I said. She's probably trying to visit my grave. Detective Martinez stared at me. Your grave that doesn't exist because you're not dead. Logic isn't really my mother's strong suit. Officer Kim's phone rang, and she answered with increasing alarm. Wait, how much? Are you serious? Okay, we'll be right there. She hung up and turned to us with an expression I was learning to dread. That was the bank. Linda Chen just tried to withdraw $15,000 from an account she opened this morning under the name Sarah Chen Memorial Fund. She had a death certificate, a will naming her as beneficiary, and fake documentation showing she was the estate executor. She opened a bank account in my name. Not exactly your name. The account is for the memorial fund, but she forged your signature on forms giving her power of attorney. The bank got suspicious when she couldn't provide a social security card and started asking questions. $15,000. I was starting to lose track of all the ways my mother was monetizing my fictional death. The insurance claim, the GoFundMe, the family donations, and now a fraudulent memorial fund. How is she doing all this so fast? I asked. It's been less than 8 hours since she posted the obituary. Martinez was quiet for a moment, then pulled out his phone. I think she's had help. He scrolled through his contacts and dialed a number. FBI Fraud Division. This is Detective Martinez in Riverside. I think we're dealing with something bigger than a family dispute. While he talked, Officer Rodriguez showed me his phone. The story had gone national. CNN had picked it up. Twitter was trending hashtag fake obituary. Someone had created a TikTok account called it Dead But Not Really and was posting updates about the case. My fictional death had become entertainment for millions of strangers. Sarah, Martinez said after hanging up, the FBI wants to interview you tomorrow morning. They think your mother might be connected to other insurance fraud cases in 3 different states. This isn't just about you anymore. 3 different states. Other victims. I stared out the car window toward the cemetery where my mother was presumably wandering around looking for a gravestone with my name on it. Detective, I said quietly, I think my mother might actually be losing her mind. The radio crackled again while we sat outside the funeral home. All units, we have a situation at Riverside Cemetery. Female suspect is digging in the main lawn area with gardening tools. Groundskeeper is requesting immediate assistance. Detective Martinez closed his eyes and rubbed his temples. She's digging her own daughter's grave. Technically, she's digging my grave, I corrected, which somehow made it worse. We drove to the cemetery in silence, passing 2 news vans heading in the same direction. The circus was following us. When we arrived, I could see my mother from 300 yards away, a small figure in a black dress, frantically shoveling dirt in what appeared to be a completely random spot near the main entrance. Ma'am, you need to stop digging immediately, Officer Rodriguez called out as we approached. My mother looked up, dirt smeared across her cheek, her hair wild from the wind. When she saw me stepping out of the police car, her expression cycled through confusion, rage, and something that might have been relief. Sarah, she called out, dropping the shovel. But the hospital said you were. Mom, there was no hospital. There was no accident. You made it all up. She stared at me for a long moment, then picked up the shovel again. No. You don't understand. The funeral is Thursday. People are coming. I already bought the flowers. She gestured toward a pile of wilted carnations she'd apparently arranged around the hole she'd dug. Mrs. Patterson from church made a casserole. Detective Martinez stepped forward slowly, like he was approaching a wild animal. Linda, we need to talk about the insurance claims. And the bank account. And the money you've collected from your family. Insurance? My mother blinked rapidly. That's for Sarah's future. For her college fund. She looked at me with genuine confusion. You're still going to finish your master's degree, right, sweetie? I graduated with my master's degree 3 years ago. She'd attended the ceremony. Mrs. Chen, Detective Martinez said gently, Sarah is 28 years old. She graduated years ago. She has a job and an apartment. My mother's face crumpled. But she won't talk to me. She won't answer my calls. What kind of daughter abandons her mother like that? The shovel fell from her hands. I just wanted her to come home. And there it was. Underneath the fraud and the fake death certificates and the $18,000 in scammed money, Linda Chen had orchestrated this entire elaborate scheme because she missed her daughter and couldn't understand why I'd left. The worst part was the tiny piece of my heart that actually ached for her in that moment. My phone rang, snapping me back to reality. Danny. Sarah, you need to know, Mom just called Grandma Rose again. She's saying you're having a breakdown, that you're delusional and think you're still alive. She asked Grandma to wire money for psychiatric treatment. Even now, standing in a cemetery she'd torn up with stolen gardening tools, Linda Chen was still running cons. How much did she ask for? $7,000. Said you needed to be committed immediately for your own safety. I looked at my mother, who was now rearranging the wilted carnations while humming what sounded like Amazing Grace. Detective Martinez was photographing her impromptu grave site while 2 groundskeepers stood nearby, looking like they were reconsidering their career choices. Danny, tell Grandma Rose to call Detective Martinez directly if Mom contacts her again. And Danny, start warning everyone that anything Mom says from now on is probably a lie. Already on it. The whole family is in a group chat now comparing notes. Uncle Robert is pissed, he wants to press charges for the $2,000 she scammed from him. Officer Kim approached my mother with handcuffs. Linda Chen, you're under arrest for fraud, identity theft, and destruction of cemetery property. As they read her rights, my mother looked directly at me. This is all your fault, Sarah. If you just called me back, none of this would have happened. Even being arrested for faking my death, she was still making it my fault. My phone buzzed with a CNN news alert, mother arrested after elaborate death hoax targeting her own daughter, cemetery vandalism. I was trending on CNN. The booking process at Riverside Police Station took 3 hours, during which time my mother managed to give 4 different versions of events to 4 different officers. In version 1, I had actually died but was resurrected through the power of prayer. In version 2, I was suffering from amnesia and had forgotten my own death. In version 3, the whole thing was an elaborate surprise party that had gotten out of hand. Version 4 was the most creative, I was actually my own evil twin, and the real Sarah was definitely still dead. She's really committed to this narrative, Detective Martinez said, showing me the transcripts. Even with you sitting right here, alive and increasingly exhausted, she's insisting there's been some kind of mistake. My phone had been buzzing non-stop. The story had reached international outlets now. Someone in Australia had shared it with the caption, Americans are mental. A British tabloid had run the headline, Mum's grief turns to griefting. I was becoming a global example of family dysfunction. Detective, I said, scrolling through my notifications, the funeral home called. They're getting harassed by reporters, but they also said something weird. 3 other people showed up today claiming to be planning my funeral. Apparently my death is very popular. Martinez looked up from his paperwork. 3 other people. Robert said a woman claiming to be my aunt from Chicago wanted to upgrade my casket package. Someone else said they were my college roommate and tried to change the music selection. And a man said he was my fiancé and demanded to see my body. Your fiancé? I'm aggressively single. Have been for 2 years. Officer Kim poked her head into the conference room. Sarah, we've got a problem. Channel 7 just reported that there's a second GoFundMe page for your funeral expenses. This one's raised $3,000 since this afternoon. A second GoFundMe. I pulled out my laptop and searched for my own name, which was an experience I don't recommend to anyone. There were now 4 different fundraising pages, 3 memorial Facebook groups, and someone had started selling R.I.P. Sarah Chen t-shirts on Etsy. This is insane, I muttered, clicking through the memorial groups. People were sharing photos of random Asian women and claiming they were me. Someone had posted a picture of their dead hamster with the caption, Sarah would have loved Mr. Whiskers. Detective Martinez's phone rang. He listened for a moment, then his expression shifted to something between disbelief and professional exhaustion. That was the FBI, he said after hanging up. They've connected your mother to at least 6 other suspicious insurance claims over the past 2 years. All involving fake deaths of family members. Other family members? My voice came out as a croak. Distant relatives, mostly. Cousins she barely knew. She'd file claims, then withdraw them when the insurance company started asking questions. Never got caught because she never pushed it far enough to trigger a full investigation. I stared at him. She's been practicing. That's what it looks like. Small claims, testing the system, seeing how much documentation they required. You were supposed to be her masterpiece. The conference room suddenly felt too small. My mother hadn't just snapped and posted a fake obituary, she'd been running a systematic insurance fraud operation, and I was the culmination of 2 years of preparation. There's more, Martinez continued. The grief counselor, Barbara. She's not licensed. Her entire practice is fake. She works with your mother, targeting families in crisis. They've been scamming grieving relatives for months. My phone rang. Unknown number, but I was too numb to care anymore. Sarah Chen. The voice was young, nervous. This is Marcus Webb from the Washington Post. We're running a feature story about fake death scams, and your case is fascinating. Would you be willing to discuss how it feels to watch your own funeral planning play out in real time? I hung up and put my head in my hands. Detective, I said, I think I need that hotel room now. The hotel Detective Martinez booked for me was a bland chain establishment off the highway, the kind of place where traveling salesmen and people hiding from their fake death orchestrating mothers could disappear for a while. I'd been there exactly 47 minutes when someone knocked on my door. Through the peephole, I saw a woman in her 50s holding a clipboard and wearing a professional smile that screamed, Insurance Investigator. Ms. Chen. I'm Rebecca Santos from Mutual Life Insurance. I know this is an unusual situation, but we need to verify a few details about your policy status. I opened the door but kept the chain latch engaged. What kind of details? Well, according to our records, you died Sunday night. But according to the news, you're very much alive. Our fraud department is having difficulty processing these conflicting reports. The news is correct. I'm alive. The death claim is fraudulent. Rebecca nodded and made a note on her clipboard. I understand that. But here's our problem, your mother submitted extremely convincing documentation. Hospital records, coroner's report, even a statement from a witness who claimed to see the accident. We started processing the $50,000 payout this morning. My blood ran cold. You started processing it? As in, she might actually get the money. Not anymore, obviously. But Ms. Chen, the documentation was professional grade. This wasn't some amateur hour scam. Your mother had help from someone who knows exactly how insurance fraud investigations work. I called Detective Martinez immediately. They almost paid out $50,000, I told him. Rebecca Santos is here, she says the fake documents were too good to be homemade. Put me on speaker, Martinez said. Ms. Santos. This is Detective Martinez. What exactly are we looking at in terms of documentation quality? Rebecca's professional smile disappeared. Detective, in 15 years of fraud investigation, I've never seen forgeries this sophisticated. The hospital letterhead was perfect, right paper stock, correct administrator signatures, even the proper medical terminology. Whoever created these documents had access to genuine templates. Or works in the medical field, Martinez said grimly. Ms. Santos, we're going to need copies of everything she submitted. After Rebecca left, promising to email the fraudulent documents within the hour, I sat on the polyester bedspread and tried to process the implications. My mother hadn't just enlisted Barbara the fake grief counselor, she had a whole team of professionals helping her fake my death. My phone buzzed with a text from Danny, Sarah, this is getting worse. Mom's been calling extended family we haven't talked to in years. She got $1,500 from Great Aunt Helen in Phoenix and $800 from Dad's cousin in Maine. She's working her way through the entire family tree. Great Aunt Helen, who I'd met exactly twice at family reunions. Dad's cousin in Maine, whose name I couldn't even remember. My mother was cold calling distant relatives and turning my fictional death into a nationwide fundraising campaign. Another text from Danny, also, someone created a fake Facebook account pretending to be you. They're posting messages from beyond and asking people to donate to a memorial scholarship fund. It's raised $4,200 so far. I opened Facebook and searched for my own name. There it was, Sarah Chen, Spirit account, with my college graduation photo and a bio that read, communicating from the other side to help grieving families. The recent posts made my skin crawl. Thank you all for the beautiful flowers. I can see them from heaven and they bring me such peace. Please continue supporting my mother during this difficult time. Sarah Red Heart, I'm watching over all of you. Don't forget to donate to the memorial fund so other families don't have to suffer like mine has. Love and light from above. Your angel Sarah, Someone was impersonating my ghost. I screenshotted everything and forwarded it to Detective Martinez, then called the hotel front desk. Hi, this is room 247. Has anyone been asking about me? Reporters, family members, insurance investigators, fake grief counselors, people claiming to represent the dead. The desk clerk paused. Actually, yes. A man called about an hour ago saying he was your brother and needed your room number for an emergency family meeting. I told him we couldn't give out guest information, but he was pretty persistent. I don't have a brother. If anyone else calls or shows up asking about me, please call the police immediately. And maybe don't mention that I'm here. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. Unknown local number. Sarah, thank God. This is your brother Michael. I just flew in from Denver when I heard about your accident. Mom told me you were staying at the Riverside Inn, but they won't give me your room number. I don't have a brother named Michael, I said. I don't have any brothers. Sarah, you're obviously confused from the trauma. I'm your half-brother from Dad's first marriage. We met at Christmas 3 years ago, remember? My father has never been married before, and we spent Christmas 3 years ago at Olive Garden with just him and his girlfriend Janet. The voice on the phone shifted slightly, becoming less concerned and more irritated. Look, Sarah, your mother sent me to bring you home. She's worried about your mental state after the accident. Just tell me what room you're in and we can sort this whole thing out. I hung up and immediately called Martinez again. She's sending people to the hotel, I told him. Someone claiming to be my non-existent half-brother. How many people is she working with? We're starting to think this is bigger than just your mother, Martinez said. The FBI is treating this as an organized fraud ring now. Sarah, pack your things. We're moving you to a secure location. As I threw my few belongings into a bag, my phone buzzed with one final text from an unknown number, you can't hide forever, Sarah. Thursday's funeral is still happening, with or without you. Too many people are counting on it now. Thursday's funeral. In less than 48 hours, dozens of people were planning to attend my burial service. The question was, what would they be burying if I wasn't actually dead? I had a terrible feeling I was about to find out. The secure location turned out to be Detective Martinez's guest bedroom, which felt less like witness protection and more like the world's most awkward sleepover. His wife, Carol, kept apologizing for the floral wallpaper while simultaneously peppering me with questions about my psychotic mother, as she'd taken to calling Linda Chen. I just can't wrap my head around it, Carol said, bringing me a cup of coffee at 6 a.m. Wednesday morning. I mean, my mother-in-law can be difficult, but she's never tried to kill me off for insurance money. I was checking my phone, which had become a masochistic morning ritual. The fake Sarah Chen Spirit account had posted an update at midnight, don't let my death be in vain. The Memorial Scholarship Fund needs just $2,000 more to reach our goal. I'm watching from heaven and I'm so proud of everyone's generosity. Eternal love, Sarah Red Heart, The Scholarship Fund. That was new. I clicked through to find an entire website dedicated to the Sarah Chen Memorial Scholarship for Automotive Safety. Complete with my high school photo, fabricated testimonials from classmates, and a detailed explanation of how my tragic death could prevent future accidents. Someone had built a non-profit organization around my fake death in less than 48 hours. My phone rang. Detective Martinez. Sarah, we have a situation. The FBI raided your mother's house an hour ago. I sat up so fast I spilled coffee on Carol's floral comforter. What did they find? A home office that looks like mission control for identity theft. Filing cabinets full of fake documents, 3 different computers, and a printer that's apparently been working overtime producing death certificates. But Sarah, that's not the weird part. There's a weirder part than my mother running a fake death certificate printing operation. They found documents for 12 other people. All family members, all supposedly dead in various accidents over the past 18 months. Your cousin Brad in Texas. According to these files, he died in a boating accident last March. Brad was very much alive. He'd posted Instagram photos of his breakfast burrito yesterday morning. She's been killing off the entire family, I whispered. It gets worse. The FBI found correspondence with funeral homes in 4 different states. She's been shopping around, comparing prices, building relationships with funeral directors who don't ask too many questions. Carol was eavesdropping shamelessly, her coffee mug frozen halfway to her mouth. I couldn't blame her, this was better than any true crime podcast. Detective, how many people are we talking about? Based on what they found this morning. At least 23 fake deaths across 6 states over 2 years. Combined insurance claims totaling over $400,000. $400,000. My mother hadn't just escalated her manipulation tactics, she'd become a serial killer of paperwork, systematically murdering relatives on official documents while they went about their actual lives completely unaware. Most of the claims were withdrawn before payout, Martinez continued, but 3 went through. The insurance companies paid out a total of $78,000 for people who are currently posting on Facebook about their morning jogs. My phone buzzed with a call from Danny. I put Martinez on hold. Sarah, we have a family emergency meeting, Danny said without preamble. Turns out half of us are supposed to be dead. Brad found out about his boating accident when his insurance company called to express condolences. Cousin Lisa apparently died in a skiing accident in February, which is news to her since she doesn't ski and has never left Florida. How many people has she killed? We're up to 9 confirmed deaths just in our immediate family. Grandma Rose is beside herself. Mom tried to collect on a life insurance policy for her last summer. Grandma Rose is dead too. According to the paperwork, she had a heart attack in July. She found out when her doctor's office called to remove her from their patient roster. I switched back to Martinez. Detective, my grandmother's doctor thinks she's dead. This is turning into the biggest fraud case the FBI has seen in years, Martinez said. Your mother didn't just fake your death, Sarah. She's been systematically murdering your entire family tree and collecting insurance money on the bodies. Through the bedroom window, I could see a news van pulling up to Martinez's house. Someone had tracked me down. Detective, I said, I think they found me. The news van was just the beginning. By Wednesday afternoon, Detective Martinez's quiet suburban street looked like the staging area for a presidential campaign. 3 news trucks, 2 unmarked FBI vehicles, and what appeared to be a food truck selling, dead but not really, sandwiches to the growing crowd of reporters and curiosity seekers. This is insane, I said, peering through Carol's lace curtains at the circus outside. Someone's making money off sandwich puns about my fake death. Detective Martinez hung up his phone and rubbed his temples. That was the FBI. They've arrested 4 people connected to your mother's operation, including Barbara the fake grief counselor and someone calling himself Dr. Richard Steinberg, who's been creating medical documents. Dr. Steinberg? Not actually a doctor. Real name is Rick Stevens, works at a FedEx printing center. But he's got access to professional equipment and apparently a talent for forgery. The FBI found his apartment full of letterhead from hospitals across 3 states. My phone buzzed with a text from a number I actually recognized, my actual father, *, Sarah, I just got a call from my insurance company asking about your funeral arrangements. What the hell is your mother doing? Also, apparently I died in a fishing accident last month. *. I called him immediately. Dad, please tell me you haven't given money to anyone. Hell no. But Sarah, this is bigger than we thought. I called my brother Jim, you know, the one in Seattle your mother scammed for $500. Turns out she called him back yesterday claiming I'd had a stroke and needed emergency medical funds. How much did she ask for? $8,000. Said I was in intensive care and the insurance wouldn't cover experimental treatment. Dad's voice was shaking with anger. She killed me off to scam my own brother out of $8 grand. Through the window, I watched a woman with a Channel 12 microphone interviewing someone who claimed to be my high school guidance counselor. I'd never seen her before in my life. Dad, don't talk to any reporters. And maybe call Uncle Jim and warn him that literally anything Mom says from now on is probably fraud. After I hung up, Carol brought me a sandwich and the latest printouts of social media posts about my case. The story had taken on a life of its own. People were sharing their own toxic family stories, creating memes about fake deaths, and apparently starting a betting pool about how many people my mother had allegedly killed. Look at this one, Carol said, showing me a Twitter thread. Someone in Montana says their aunt tried the same scam last year, but only killed off 2 people. Your mom is like the overachiever of fake death fraud. My phone rang again. Detective Martinez answered it, his expression growing increasingly grim. That was Agent Williams from the FBI, he said after hanging up. They've connected your mother's operation to similar schemes in 12 states. The total estimated fraud amount is now over $1.2 million. $1.2 million. I felt dizzy. How is that even possible? She's been at this for 3 years, not 2. And Sarah, they found something else in her house. A detailed timeline of your life going back 5 years. Every job you've had, every address, every relationship, every fight you 2 had. She's been planning this specific operation since you were 23. The room went silent except for the sound of reporters talking outside and my own heart pounding in my ears. My mother had been planning to fake my death for 5 years. Every argument we had about boundaries, every time I'd asked for space, every normal step I'd taken toward independence, she'd been documenting it all, building a case for why I deserved to be eliminated from official existence. Detective, I said quietly, what happens at tomorrow's funeral? That's what we're trying to figure out. Over 200 people have RSVP'd to attend your burial service, including relatives who think they're grieving and complete strangers who donated to the GoFundMe pages. 200 people. Coming to bury someone who is currently eating a sandwich in a witness protection bedroom, watching her own death become a national news story. Martinez's phone rang again, and this time his expression shifted to something approaching panic. They found a casket, he said after hanging up. Your mother ordered and paid for an actual casket. It's being delivered to Riverside Memorial Home tomorrow morning. My blood turned to ice. An actual casket? For who? That's what we're trying to figure out. The funeral director says your mother paid in full, $12,000 cash, and gave specific instructions about the interior lining. She wanted pink satin because, and I quote, Sarah always looked beautiful in pink. I hate pink. I've hated pink since I was 7 years old. But my mother had apparently decided my corpse would look lovely in it. Agent Williams from the FBI chose that moment to knock on Martinez's front door, carrying a briefcase that looked ominous enough to contain nuclear launch codes. Carol let him in, still wearing her "I can't believe this is my Wednesday" expression. MS. Chen, Agent Williams said, settling into the living room chair like he was about to deliver a cancer diagnosis. "We need to discuss what we found at your mother's residence." He opened the briefcase and pulled out a manila folder thick enough to choke a horse. "This is just the documentation related to you specifically. Your mother has been building what can only be described as an alternate reality, Sarah Chen." He spread the papers across Carol's coffee table like some kind of horrifying scrapbook. There were fake medical records showing I'd been suffering from depression. Fabricated therapy notes indicating I was suicidal. A forged letter from a psychiatrist recommending immediate intervention. "She's been preparing to justify your death for years," Agent Williams continued. "If anyone questioned the accident story, she had backup documentation showing you were mentally unstable and possibly suicidal." "But I'm not suicidal," I said weakly. "I'm in therapy, but for her manipulation, not because I want to hurt myself." "We know that. But anyone looking at these documents would see a troubled young woman who'd been struggling for years. Your mother created an entire fictional mental health crisis to make your death seem plausible." Detective Martinez leaned forward. "Agent Williams, what about the casket situation?" "That's where it gets complicated." Williams pulled out another set of papers. "The casket isn't just for show. Your mother contacted a medical supply company and purchased what she described as cremation remains for ceremony purposes. She told them it was for a memorial service where the family wanted the comfort of a physical burial." My stomach dropped. She bought fake human remains. Not human. Animal cremation ash from a veterinary service. "But Ms. Chen, she's planning to actually bury something tomorrow. 200 people are going to watch your mother inter a casket full of dead pets while they think they're mourning you." Carol made a sound that was half laugh, half horrified gasp. "She's going to bury pet ash and call it Sarah?" "It appears that way. The funeral director confirmed that the service will proceed as scheduled unless we obtain a court order. And since no actual crime is being committed, it's not illegal to bury animal remains with the family's consent." "But it's fraud." I interrupted. "People donated money thinking they were helping with human funeral expenses. That's what we're working on." "But Sarah, there's something else." Agent Williams pulled out a final document. "We found plane tickets. Your mother booked a flight to Mexico for Friday morning, one day after your funeral. One-way ticket, no return date. Mexico. She was planning to attend my burial service, accept condolences from 200 mourners, and then disappear to another country with whatever money she'd managed to steal." My phone rang. Danny again. "Sarah, we have a bigger problem. The family is split on whether to show up to your funeral tomorrow. Half of us want to expose Mom publicly, but Grandma Rose thinks we should let the service happen and deal with the legal stuff privately. She doesn't want the family humiliated in front of the whole town. Danny, she's going to bury pet cremation ash and tell people it's me." "Yeah, Uncle Robert figured that out when he called the funeral home directly." "But Sarah, there's something else. Channel 7 just reported that the governor might attend your funeral. Apparently you've become some kind of symbol for car accident victims' families, and he wants to make a statement about highway safety." "The governor?" "The actual governor was planning to attend my fake funeral to make a speech about highway safety while my mother buried a box of dead hamsters and collected sympathy donations." Agent Williams was already on his phone. "We need that court order immediately," he said to whoever answered. "This is about to become a political incident." Through the window, I could see the crowd outside had grown larger. Someone was selling t-shirts that said, "Justice for Sarah," next to the sandwich truck. A local church had apparently organized a prayer vigil for tomorrow morning. "Agent Williams," I said, "what happens if we can't stop the funeral? What happens if the governor shows up to mourn pet ash while my mother escapes to Mexico?" He closed the briefcase and looked at me with the expression of a man who'd seen too much bureaucratic insanity for one lifetime. "Ms. Chen," he said, "that would probably become the most embarrassing law enforcement failure in FBI history. Which is why we're going to make sure it doesn't happen." My phone buzzed with a news alert. "Breaking, Sarah Chen funeral tomorrow expected to draw hundreds, including state officials." Hundreds of people. State officials. All coming to mourn someone who was currently hiding in a witness protection bedroom, watching her mother plan to bury pet cremation ash while fleeing the country. Tomorrow was going to be either the most satisfying day of my life or the most catastrophic. Possibly both. Thursday morning arrived with the kind of crisp November weather that would have been perfect for a funeral, if I were actually dead. Instead, I was very much alive, sitting in an FBI surveillance van outside Riverside Memorial Home, wearing a wire and watching 200 people file into my own burial service. The governor's motorcade arrived at exactly 10:47 a.m., flanked by news crews and what appeared to be half the state police force. Through my earpiece, I could hear Agent Williams coordinating with tactical teams positioned around the cemetery. "Target approaching the main entrance," came a voice through the radio. Linda Chen, black dress, carrying a large floral arrangement. My mother looked the part of the grieving widow, if grieving widows typically carried briefcases full of fraudulent documents and plane tickets to Mexico. She paused at the funeral home entrance, dabbing her eyes with a tissue while photographers captured her devastating loss. "She's really selling it," Detective Martinez murmured from the driver's seat. Inside the chapel, I could see my high school English teacher weeping openly in the third row. My boss Janet sat next to the fake grief counselor Barbara, who was apparently still committed to her role despite being under federal investigation. The governor had taken a seat in the front row, probably preparing his highway safety speech about my fictional traffic accident. At exactly 11:15 a.m., the funeral director wheeled out a pink satin casket that cost more than my car. My mother had spared no expense for my fake remains, which, according to the FBI, consisted of cremation ash from 3 different cats and a German shepherd named Rex. "All units, prepare for intervention," Agent Williams said through my earpiece. "Sarah, you're on." I stepped out of the surveillance van and walked toward the chapel entrance. The news crew spotted me immediately. Nothing says, "breaking story," like a dead person showing up to her own funeral. "Oh my God," I heard someone shout. "She's alive." The crowd outside turned toward me like a wave. Reporters shoved microphones in my face while mourners stared in shock. Someone in a "Justice for Sarah" t-shirt looked deeply confused about who exactly they were seeking justice for. I pushed through the crowd and walked straight into the chapel. 200 people turned to stare at me as I strode down the aisle toward my own casket. The governor's mouth fell open. My high school English teacher fainted directly into the pew. And my mother, Linda Chin, master manipulator, insurance fraudster, and fake death orchestrator, looked me straight in the eye and said the most Linda Chin thing possible. "Sarah, you're going to ruin everything. People came all this way." "Mom," I said into the microphone the FBI had wired to my jacket, my voice carrying across the silent chapel, "the only thing I'm ruining is your plan to bury pet cremation ash and flee to Mexico with stolen money." The silence that followed was broken by the sound of FBI agents entering through every door. Agent Williams appeared at my mother's elbow with handcuffs while tactical teams secured the exits. "Linda Chin," he announced, "you're under arrest for wire fraud, insurance fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy." As they led her away, my mother turned back one final time. "This isn't over, Sarah. Family doesn't just abandon family." "No, Mom," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "But daughters do get to abandon abusive mothers who fake their deaths for money. That's actually completely legal." The governor, to his credit, managed to salvage his dignity by giving an impromptu speech about the importance of family mental health resources. The mourners gradually dispersed, though several people stopped to apologize for believing I was dead and to ask if they could get their GoFundMe donations refunded. 3 hours later, I was back in my own apartment, surrounded by the flowers my boss had brought on Tuesday morning, which felt like 3 years ago instead of 3 days. My phone had 847 unread messages, but for the first time since this nightmare began, none of them were from my mother. Detective Martinez called at sunset. "She's been denied bail," he said. "Flight risk, obviously. The DA thinks she'll get 15 to 20 years federal time, plus whatever the state charges add up to." "What about the other people she killed off?" "Your cousin Brad is pressing charges. So is your grandmother. Turns out being declared dead without your consent really pisses people off." I hung up and opened my laptop. The Sarah Chin Spirit account was still active, now posting updates like, "Surprise. I'm alive. Thanks for all the donations, love, very much not dead Sarah." The Memorial Scholarship Fund had been frozen, but the pet cremation ash was apparently being donated to a local animal shelter for a legitimate memorial garden. My obituary was still online, but someone had updated it with a correction. "Sarah Elizabeth Chin is very much alive and her mother is in federal prison. In lieu of flowers, please consider donating to organizations that help people escape toxic family relationships." I ordered Thai food, opened a bottle of wine, and settled onto my couch to read the news coverage of my own survival. The headlines were spectacular: "Woman attends own funeral, arrests fraudster mother," and "FBI raids fake death service, governor mourns pet ash." But the best part was my phone staying silent. No unknown numbers, no fake grief counselors, no insurance investigators, no mysterious brothers I'd never met. For the first time in 28 years, Linda Chin couldn't call me. I raised my wine glass to my reflection in the dark window. "Here's to being dead to you too, Mom." The silence was absolutely perfect.